Very good evening to everyone live on YouTube. Welcome to the build-up of the live coverage of round 2 of the MotorMotion Trak Racer GT3 Championship, where we are bringing you all the action for what will be a fast and thrilling race around the Temple of Speed, the legendary Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, built in the Royal Villa of Monza Park, in a woodland setting near the city of Monza, north of Milan, in motorsport heaven, that is, Italy. Opening on the 3rd of September 1922, we have seen over 100 years of motorsport racing where the die-hard Tifosi fans bleed red. Not only the wine, but of course the red of Ferrari. And tonight they'll be bringing all of their energy towards our 15 drivers, duking it out for line honours in their respective class, and of course the overall win. The track, well, what's there to say about it? There are 3 different variations of the Monza circuit, but we'll be using the modern layouts, running in a clockwise direction where 11 corners will make the 5.793 kilometre Grand Prix circuit a very fast race. 2 tricky chicanes to navigate around Sector 1 before it's all about trying to extract as much speed as possible, where you can go through the higher speed sections before approaching Parabolica, a simple yet tricky corner to complete the lap. Australian sim racing was welcomed with the presence of a new era of league racing with the debut of MotorMotion E-Series, making all the headlines after what was a thrilling round 1 of the Trak Racer GT3 Championship at Watkins Glen. That saw one team dominate against their rivals, that team being WTCC World Touring Car Championship, and their 3 drivers, Slapper's Mate 117, GLR Scotty and Squirrel 18. Winning the inaugural event, comfortably crushing their opposition. But oddly, the most surprising takeaway from the event was definitely Pro-Am driver Scott Taylor, also known as GLR Scotty, winning the overall race over his team boss, Wade Von Duve. Pro driver Wade, or Slapper's Mate 117, was hampered after a pit stop blunder towards the end of the race where the rear right tyre wasn't tightened up properly, costing him at least 4 extra seconds in the pit lane. I mean, that's unheard of, ladies and gentlemen, to have a Pro-Am teach the pros a lesson. The days after the successful round opener, there was plenty of head scratching amongst the teams up and down pit lane, one in particular being Bingo Bango Racing of BB or BBR for short. Led by team manager Roddy Dongs, having a less than ideal start to their MotorMotion debut, showing all the pace in qualifying and the early stages of the race. But unfortunately, the lack of track time and the car going in the wrong direction in setup cost them dearly, with tyres being shredded, multiple pit stops, and with the very limited tyre sets they were given, tyre saving was virtually impossible. But here's hoping this time round they'll be looking for redemption to bring the prancing horse up towards the pointy end of the grid for the Tifosi fans. The surprise package, besides the BMW dominance from WTCC, was Ned Racing, an Extreme NZ, who was going the alternate strategy and running the harder compounds compared to the rest of the drivers, using the softer compound to get close to taking the lead at the end of the race, which unfortunately did not work out, but drove a solid race nonetheless to seal 3rd overall and 2nd in class. Scarborough Motorsport was definitely a head scratcher, arguably the top contender to take it to WTCC for drivers and teams championship, but their Corvette was just as bad as the Ferraris from BBR, concerning tyre wear and a far from ideal debut, despite taking the first ever pole position with Aussie Hypnotic behind the wheel of car number 420 in the Chevrolet Corvette C7. We'll also be keeping an eye out on Swan Racing 2, the silent assassins of MotorMotion, and they'll be doing their utmost best to make a huge impact in round 2 of the MotorMotion Trak Racing GT3 Championship. At this time, we'd like to thank our sponsors. MotorMotion E-Series is proudly sponsored by Trak Racer, redefining gaming since 2008, which has been designing and pioneering its best high-end value gaming platforms and accessories made from the highest quality materials that offered unsurprised durability. From extensive research in both real-world motorsports racing and from game simulation, Trak Racer understands the importance of design, cutting-edge engineering, and knowing what it takes to give you an edge over your competition. It brings the best value, living up to the highest competitive standards for user demand. Visit www.trakracer.com.au to get all of your accessory needs to enhance your performance in sim racing. I'll be your lead commentator for the series. My name's Nick Pautasso, and it is my honour to be calling all the action here on the Gran Turismo platform for round 2 of MotorMotion's inaugural championship here at Monza. As said, it will be the GT3 cars on display at the 5.793 kilometre Monza circuit, as I plan to show you around a stunning layout adored by fans, especially the Tifosi, in the MotorMotion Trak Racer Group 3 Porsche 911 RSR. So here we go, exiting the pit lane, a very fast straight coming up here. It's a very fast circuit, this 5.793 kilometre that is Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. Approaching turn 1. Very tight chicane, a right and left. That is the same spot where we saw Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen in the F1 2021 championship collide, where Hamilton came out of the pit lane and Max Verstappen went for an ambitious move around the outside, and the two leading title contenders put themselves out and DNF with 0 points. Up to turns 4 and 5 after Curva Grande, we get to the Variante di Rettifiglio. A left and a right chicane, exiting that before you get into Lesmo 1. Just after the 50-metre board, you want to try and get a late apex, run the car wide, but not too wide, otherwise you'll be meeting the grass. Here you want to be trying to get the inside curve and don't run too wide, because the grapple will be calling your name on the entry and exit of Lesmo 2. Going past the old bridge, the old banking that was opened up in 1922, all the way up to the late 1950s, where it was closed off, and we have this section of track through Ascari, a very fast section and one of the hardest part of the track to get right, to get the best exit you can of Ascari. Having a little bit of a break here on the exit of turn 10, and then coming through Curva Parabolica. Really want to run the car as slow as you can, and then get the foot down nice and early, as quickly as you can. And that is a lap of Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, as I lead you for a full lap guide here this evening. There is a lap guide of this beautiful 5.7 93 km Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, the Temple of Speed that is well known, showing some very fast lap times in all sorts of categories in racing. But as we get ourselves ready, a full grid this evening. We had only one driver missing from the race in round one, and that was Uncle Mark, also known as Golden Alpine. Unfortunately could not make it last time out. Caught himself in a bit of in the nightclubs, playing around with his banjo with the American audiences and just playing some country music with his fellow friends, and then he forgot to realize that he was needed on the track. And that's when the team boss in Osto, unfortunately, wasn't really happy with his antics. He gave him a firm warning, he did, to Golden Alpine. But our Golden Alpine is here, he's ready to go, and he's ready to challenge the AM drivers for taking out pole position in amateur class. But as we get ourselves ready, qualifying is underway. We have 20 minutes of the session to go through as we will get our drivers onto the grid and we look to go on board with some of the drivers. So as I said, the team leader of Ned Racing, Osto 101. Ned Racing, blue and white, McLaren 650S. Most considered to be the underrated car, underperforming car amongst the rest of the grid, but with his teammate in Extreme in 4th place, managed to get that car up all the way up to 3rd place overall and 2nd in class, and he's done himself a very good job to get that underperforming McLaren. As we do see Joel at the back have a little bit of an off on the exit of Lesmo 2. As I did explain through the lap guide, you can get caught out. You take too much of the inside curve on the right hand side rather, and it'll just put you towards the gravel and it'll make the car go spinning. If you get too early and too happy on the throttle, the car will go for a full 360. But Extreme will be looking to take it to the guys up ahead with the likes of Slapper's mate 117 and Aussie Hypnotic, the inaugural pole position man in the number 420 Corvette's C7. So the pro driver looked to be challenging his mate in Slapper's mate 117, but unfortunately for him, he wasn't able to get anywhere near at least him and GLR Scotty as well, as he suffered a lot of tyre wear. There's a very interesting story coming out, building up to before the start of round 2. Team boss Dylan Scarborough, or Marty McFarty, as we see on the game tag here, has been a little bit of a worrying sign with the Scarborough Motorsport camp, where unfortunately they haven't been able to get any of their sponsors or any major sponsoring on the side of their cars. As you see from the side of their cars, it's just a bit of plain white with the Chevrolet backing, with the Chevrolet special vehicles backing, and with the likes of Karcher, Nulon and PPG also providing support. They're not able to secure a major sponsor, so really tough times going through Scarborough Motorsport. Maybe it could be we can say could be slowly becoming the end of Scarborough Motorsport if they cannot land themselves a major sponsor for round 3 and even before the last round. They might not even make it to the next series, the next season of MotorMotion GT3. But we'll have to wait and see as they are coming through to Ascari right now, braking hard, try and clip the inside on the left, run it onto the curbs, short shift into 4th, and then just plucking through the gears as you get down here, just planning where you're going to be braking your markers. Marty's got himself a good slipstream behind Extreme, same with Extreme behind Sir Dids, and Sir Dids likewise to Kuch 426. But as we cross over through Kuch in the Bingo Bango Racing car 426, an underperforming car out of the last round at Watkinsburn, as he comes through to the 97 itself at 1 minute 49.2. Sir Dids and Extreme topple that comfortably, with the fastest going for a 48 flat by Sir Dids and Swan Racing Mercedes AMG. GLR Scotty, there he goes, the man, the surprise package from WTCC, the Pro-Am driver, taking the victory ahead of his team boss in Slapper's mate 117, is so far a provisional pole position, but we have a long way to go before the end of qualifying. We've got ourselves about 14 more minutes of qualifying for our drivers this evening, as we see the car ahead get themselves a penalty. Aussie Hypnotic, the first man to take pole position, is currently in second place, with Slapper's mate coming through, setting himself a blistering time of 1 minute 47.862. So beautiful lap time by Slapper's mate. So it just shows the two BMWs are here to play. They're not the first round go-getters, and then we forget about them for the rest of the series. No. WTCC are definitely the ones that we have to keep an eye on throughout the whole evening. We see Kutch just parked up there, have a little bit of an incident, maybe a little bit too deep. Funnily enough, this is where we've seen, it's not the first time we've seen a Ferrari through Retifilia, where earlier in the year we did see the Real Worlds in the Fanatic Champion GT3 Championship. We saw one of the Ferraris, or during the 6 hours, I apologise, we actually saw one of the Ferraris go in a little bit too deep and managed to clip the sausage curbs. And it went for a full flip over, and the car was absolutely destroyed. It was a huge incident, and there's lots of calls for the sausage curbing to be taken off. Because like we saw with Max Verstappen, with Lewis Hamilton, and the Retifilia turns 1 and 2, we did see a huge accident where Max Verstappen did clip the sausage curb, where he wasn't given much room by Lewis Hamilton. And he just clipped the sausage curb, and he had nowhere else to go but to land onto the top. Thankfully, the halo saved Lewis Hamilton's head, otherwise it would have been in serious trouble. As Aussie Hypnotic comes through, he's on a purple, he's smashed it. 1 minute 47 dead. A blistering lap speed by Aussie Hypnotic on his second flyer, so he'll be wanting to come into the pit lane very soon for a fresh set of tyres. He'll be happy with that. Well, can he get back-to-back pole positions? We shall wait and see. We see Extreme move up through the field. He's up into third place now, into the 47s. So the first man into the 47s, GLR Scotty, didn't get himself a good second lap there, 1 minute 48.4. And the Slapper's mate, again, showing consistency with his lap times, 1 minute 47.862 versus an 869. So good consistency by the pro winner of Watkins Glen, to apologise. So the pro winner at Watkins Glen, Slapper's mate 117, showing all class, showing the pace, showing the consistency, but not enough to tackle Aussie Hypnotic 7/10 clear ahead of fellow pro driver Sir Dids and Extreme. So far GLL Scotty's got provisional pole position for the Pro-Am class. As we look down, we also see Marty McFarty so far taking provisional pole position for the amateur class, with Squirrel 18 second in class, only 0.1 behind Marty McFarty. Osto looks to be second in class in the Pro-Am, but 8th overall. Chops, Pro-Am driver, third in class, but sitting 9th overall. Kutch, 426, last of the pro drivers, in 11th and 5th in last in class. Robbo Sport, bit of a quiet achiever. Robbo Sport has been showing some good pace, especially with his mate Aussie Hypnotic, to try and bring that team up towards the front. But unfortunately, as we said at the beginning of the coverage, the tyre wear was just as bad as what we saw from Bingo Bango Racing. And between those two cars, they could not get anywhere near the pace of the BMWs, and even the Mercedes from Swan Racing. They were a class above those two cars. But Robbo Sport, unfortunately, did pick up some damage on his lap there, so he'll be looking to come to the pit lane. Then we have Briz Lightning, the last, 4th in class for amateur, and then we have Roddy Donks in 15th and last place. So Roddy Donks and BBR Racing, unfortunately, was so well underprepared for Watkins Glen that they didn't even have a car. We saw at least 2 different cars with 2 different paint liveries, so I was really surprised to see that the communication amongst the team wasn't really crystal clear, and we saw 2 different variations of the Bingo Bango Racing Ferrari 458 Italia. But it looks like now, from what I'm seeing on the track, we can see all BBR Racing Ferraris have the same colour scheme, and they look like they are ready. They're looking much better, especially through the early practices. As we see Sir Dids come through line, he's the first man into the 46s, so 46.9. So Sir Dids showing some really good pace in his Merc in the yellow and blue Swan Racing Mercedes, with Aussie Hypnotic right behind with fresh tyres, and he'll be looking to set a really blistering lap. Squirrel 18, oh, he's jumped up into third place overall. He's smashed Marty McFarty to take out pole position. So Squirrel's only 2/10ths behind Sir Dids and ahead of his teammates in GLR Scotty, but I don't see where Slapper's Mate 117 is. Slapper's Mate is in 5th place. He's about to cross the line right now. Can he make pole position? He does. So what was a concern for Slapper's Mate with consistency, he's now shown some paces, and now he's into the 46s, so 46.896, so just only 0.053 ahead of Sir Dids, and Aussie Hypnotic is about to start his lap on the fresh set of tyres. We've got ourselves about 6 more minutes before the end of the qualifying session, so can Aussie Hypnotic find a way to take pole position for the second time out, or will it be Slapper's Mate 117 that takes pole position away from the Scarborough Motorsport driver? Some comments coming through to the MotorMotion E-Series. Hope you guys are enjoying what you're seeing and watching along. Tony Griffin, Mark's Motorsport, Shadow GT, Hide and Seek, Shadow Racing. Thank you guys for joining in for this live coverage of round 2 of the Track Racer GT3 Championship, where so far pole position is looking to be going towards WTCC. So the team that dominated 3 out of 3 wins in all classes looks to be set in stone to be taking out pole position. But Aussie Hypnotic is only down by a few tenths in that last sector. So we'll wait and see what he can produce. He's a little bit, it looks like he's a little bit off the pace on the exit of Parabolica. Didn't look like he had the smoothest of runs out of Ascarius. He's coming through, where we go, 1 minute 46 a year, so not really setting the time to like 1.4 clear or behind Slapper's Mate 117 as he tries to reattempt for a second lap. So as we run through the grid, we've got Slapper's Mate 117, the leader of Pro, in first place. Sir Dids, the next in line for the Pro class, in second place. Aussie Hypnotic in third, and then the first of the Pro-Am drivers, Walker 17, in 4th place, and then the fastest Am driver, Squirrel 18, in 5th. Extreme, we've been not hearing much about Extreme, so I think I have a feeling that the MR in the mid-engine rear-wheel drive cars in McLaren is not really liking these conditions around Monza. He's only 6th fastest, only by 0.4 behind Slappers, so the gap and the field is actually pretty close amongst each other. We go from 1st to 7th, all separated by under a 10th of a second, as we see Marty McFarty go 2/10ths clear. Oh, but he's just cut the De La Roggia chicane there. That'll be at least a half-second penalty going to his name. Yeah, you go. So a half-second against Marty McFarty. Unfortunately, 2/10ths, almost 3/10ths up on Slapper's Mate, but just took a little bit too much of a gamble through to De La Roggia. And then he's gone through to the gravel trap. So that's one of the hot spots of where mistakes can happen. You overdrive the car too much, and that left-hand side of the car will drift towards the gravel trap, and there's no point of return in saving your lap at all. Let's have a look down at last time out race winner, GLR Scotty. He's not setting the world alight with this time at the moment, so we'll keep an eye with GLR Scotty as we go for the onboard shot by the race winner, for the round winner, the car 37 WTCC driver, GLR Scotty. out of Lesmo 2 coming down the old banking. Through to Ascari. Is he up on his time? He's up on his time, but not the personal best lap time. Well, not the fastest lap time, rather. He's still in the 1 minute 47. He's not able to make any headlines just yet by being 0.031 up on his personal best. So 1 minute 47.944 is his best. He's only got himself about another 4 more minutes before the qualifying is over. He's got 0.4 to find to try and overtake Marty. Yep, WTCC car 37. What is this lap going to produce for him? Can he get anywhere close towards the front guys in the top 5? No, he doesn't. He's only improved his lap just, but not enough to try and topple off Marty McCarty. As we see Aussie Hypnotic coming through with a better lap time at 1 minute 46.7. So whilst we're on board with GLR Scotty, Aussie Hypnotic for Scarborough Motorsport came through so far with only 3 minutes to go to take out provisional pole position. So Slappers mate just exiting the pit lane right now to set the best lap that he can on this final attempt. Extreme's actually gone better on his lap time. He's now into the 46s. Is Extreme NZ 1 minute 46.9. Walker is just shy of the 46s, 47 flat. Squirrel 18 rounding up the top 6. So pretty even, pretty close gap there. Under 5/10 separating the top 6, and we see 3 different classes in the top 6, all covered by less than half a second. So that's pretty amazing to see our drivers so competitive on this field, and we can see drivers really trying to push their cars to the limit. But from what I'm seeing here is we're seeing a lot of good teamwork here between the WTCC boys in GLR Scotty and Squirrel 18. Getting that slipstream from the car ahead. There's only 0.4 down on his lap time, so there's a little bit of dirty air effect that goes through Lesmo 1 and 2 for Squirrel 18. And unfortunately, he's got a little bit, get caught up a bit too much on the dirty air, and Squirrel 18 can't get any self closer now. And it looks like he's just backed off a little bit to try and reset. But only 1 more lap for our drivers. We've got about 2 minutes, so you can only get about 1 lap now. Their time for Extreme to come into the pit lane has to be perfect, so his pit crew has to change those tyres quickly and go through and hopefully get himself around the track before the checker flag waves. As we see Walker now come through with a 1 minute 46.6, so the fresh tyres from Swan Racing. So as I said, keep an eye on Swan Racing. They've been flying under the radar in the last round of Watkins Glen, have been always hanging around. We can see they're hanging around with their bright yellow and blue Mercedes. And they're coming through and they're flying through colours, and he's a Pro-Am driver as well, so he's trying to take it up towards GLR Scotty. I wondered if he got motivation from GLR Scotty and thought, you know, he got a win, now it's my turn to try and get a win. But he's only 0.06 up on Aussie Hypnotic. As we know, Aussie Hypnotic and Slappers Mate 117 are known to be fast drivers and fast qualifiers, as they are about to start off on their lap as they go through Sector 1. Let's see what the timing delta is between Slappers Mate and Aussie Hypnotic. Let's see what Slappers gets through the first delta. He's got himself 0.037 down. And then we look through Aussie Hypnotic. Oh, we didn't catch that. We just missed it. But I believe they're roughly matching around the same pace. Aussie Hypnotic and Slappers Mate 117. But cutting back to Walker 17 as he's going through past on the exit of Ascari and then coming towards Parabolic, to think about where you're going to put the car and brake the car to get a really nice wide and then a sharp cut into the entry onto the exit of Parabolica. Really plant the foot down, take the car to the right hand side and really try and take the shortest line possible to get your lap time shorter. Can he improve his lap time? No, he's only 0.14 down on his personal best. But let's cross back to Slappers Mate 117 in the number 117 WTCC BMW M6, as we can see Slappers Mate 117 coming through towards Parabolica with his mate Aussie Hypnotic right behind. Can he do something about it? Can he topple off Walker 17 and take out provisional pole position? We'll wait and see. The freshest tyres is on that car. Can he get himself into the 46s? He's looking, he's getting close, he doesn't, he's 2.2 down. Aussie Hypnotic is also down, he's 0.64. So I think that is the end of qualifying as we look back towards the drivers to the back of the field. Any more contenders? We see Sir did 72 with a penalty, so he isn't in no contention at all. to set a pole position lap time. And here we go. Extreme was probably the last man to cross the pit lane. He's only 0.2 down, 2.6 down on Walker's fastest lap. So he doesn't look to be making any impressions so far, but that is the end of Sector 1. This is where you really want to get the car speed to be really strong with these cars, especially with the mid-engine rear-wheel drive cars. These McLaren 650S really want to try and take advantage of the speeds going through Lesmo 1, Lesmo 2, now coming through to the back straight, going under the old banking of Monza. And then before you hit Ascari, let's see what his delta time is. Can he improve on his lap time? Can he improve on the delta? No, he's 0.7. So he's not in contention at all. What about Squirrel 18? He's only 0.5 down away from Walker's time. And we haven't seen much from GLR Scotty as well, but we'll keep an eye on Squirrel's lap time. We're not so sure if he's able to get anywhere near the front, but we'll wait and see. And let's keep an eye on that leaderboard if anything changes. But Squirrel 18, the lead amateur driver, coming through to the checkered flag. Can he improve his lap time? He does improve his lap time. He doesn't improve his position. And he stays in 6th place. What about Osto 101? He's 7th place. He's right behind. He's only 0.18 behind Walker and only 0.3 behind Squirrel. So we'll wait and see what this driver can do. He set his personal best on 1 minute 47.4. And he'll be wanting to make sure his lap time can go down into the 46s as he comes through. He's 0.3 up on his time. Let's go on board with Osto 101, the leader of Ned Racing. Beautiful feature that's been brought onto the MotorMotion E-Series website. I do highly recommend you go check that out. A beautiful insight of the life behind Ned Racing and the owner of Ned Racing. Now coming through Parabolica. Just want to take it nice and easy, Osto. Really try and hook the car in the inside and get really hard on the throttle, and then bring that car all the way onto the right-hand side. Try and take the shortest line possible. Can he get himself up towards the grid? Can he get himself into the 46s? He does. Whoa, beautiful lap time by Osto. 101, a 146.8, a lap that mattered and the lap that counted. Osto 101 in 3rd place. I don't see any more contenders coming through as we see look towards the back. Sir Dids is looking to finish up on his lap as we try to see the drivers coming through. We've got Robbo Sport coming through. He's not able to improve his lap time, so he's 5th and last place. What about Sir Dids? Did he improve his lap? He didn't. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Again, another surprise in the MotorMotion E-Series GT3 Championship sponsored by Track Racer. We have not just Swan Racing, but we have the Pro-Am driver in Swan Racing, Walker 17, taking provisional pole position in round 2 at the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza for the Italian Grand Prix. And Walker 17 has come through to take a pole position ahead of last time's pole position winner, Aussie Hypnotic, in 2nd place. And there we have Osto as well. So 2 Pro-Am drivers in the top 3. That is amazing. And only separated by 0.2. And so, wow. I wonder if definitely Osto got some inspiration from Extreme last time out and said, you know what? I'm going to try and make sure I get one up on my teammate. And he did so very nicely. So Osto 101 in 3rd place. Slappers mate in 4th place, unfortunately, with Sir Dids in 5th place. So there we go. We have 2 of the Swan drivers in the top 5 with, I want to see where Briz Lightning is. Briz Lightning in 12th place, which I will believe will be 14th place once the drivers have come through and taken their pit stops. We haven't seen much from the BBR, but they actually came through late, and with Kuch 426 coming in late and only getting himself into the 1 minute 47.4. So that's a really good lap there, and a much better lap time for the Ferrari driver from BBR Racing. Kuch 427, only 0.8 behind Walker 17. But unfortunately, he is the last of the pro drivers in the field. Squirrel takes our pole position yet again for the amateur class in 1st place, with the next amateur driver, Marty McFarty, right on his tail. So between them is only about 0.4 of a second. between those two drivers, and Marty will be wanting to make sure he can get his Scarborough Motorsport Corvette up towards the BMW that really dominated Watkins Glen, and he'll be wanting to make sure he can get that car up. So fuel will be very tight for our drivers this evening. So it is a very high fuel consumption around Monza, and it is a very much tire killer as well, with all the short corners. With all the short, sharp corners and the long, windy corners and the long sweeper corners, especially through Lesmo 1 and 2, where we see the left-hand side of the car really taking up use when it comes through the loaded tires on the left-hand side. I do apologize. So the left-hand side of the car, the loaded tires will be taking a lot of pressure, and the drivers will want to really make sure they conserve their tires, because the duration of the race is going to be long. Compulsory tires are the soft tires, ladies and gentlemen. So any of these drivers can choose whatever tire they want to go on. So whether we see some drivers stay on the soft tires and just run all softs to the end of the race, or we might even see a different strategy, especially looking towards the mid-engine rear-wheel drive cars in the McLaren and the Ferrari. We'll be wanting to see what strategy they go with when it comes to the tires. But as we get through, unfortunately for Roddy Dongs, looking to be at the rear of the field, of a full second behind Briz Lightning, the amateur driver in Briz Lightning for Swan Racing, rounding up the rear of the grid as we look towards Chops. He's electing to start on the medium tyre, so that could be an interesting one to keep our eyes on. So a little bit of a surprise by some of the drivers. So a really good shock, so a huge shock to see Walker 17 and Osto 101 in the top three. So two of the 5 Pro-Am drivers in the top three, led by Walker and Osto in third place, with the first of the pros in Aussie in second, and then Slappers in third. So as we take a quick short break, we'll bring you the live start and the live coverage of round 2 of the MotorMotion E-Series Track Racer GT3 Championship, brought to you live and free on YouTube. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the bell, subscribe to MotorMotion E-Series, like the video, and keep yourself notified for all of the action provided by MotorMotion E-Series, where you'll be seeing the best of the best, our 15 drivers here on the grid, duking it out for victories in their class and also taking the overall victory. But who will take out the overall victory? Please let us know down in the comments below. Who are you rooting for? Who could be the surprise package for round 2? Can we see some of the contenders in Walker? Can he be able to hold his position and be inspired by GLR Scotty's top performance at Watkins Glen? Can the Bingo Bango Racing improve their positioning with the brand new updated Ferrari 458s? Can they bring joy to the Tifosi fans? We'll only wait and see in a matter of time. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen, round 2 of the MotorMotion Track Racing GT3 Championship, led by Walker 17. I'm just going to jump out quickly and see if we can go through the spectator mode. There we go, Walker leading the pole position with Aussie Hypnotic in third, Osto in fourth. We wait for those lights to go out. Bit of a camera glitch there, unfortunately. And we are racing underway. Walker 17 leads the field in first place, with Aussie Hypnotic in second, Osto in third. It looks like we're going to see a defensive move there by Slapper's mate 117. Behind him is Swan's driver Sir Dids, and then we've got Extreme, and then Scarborough Motorsports. Martin McFardy making the move early on Squirrel 18. So it looks like Squirrel's had a bit of a poor start. He's under the pressure from Kutch 426 in the Ferrari Bingo Bango Racing. So Squirrel not having the best start he has in his BMW, but it's a long race, 34 laps this evening, as we see some moves. Last time's race winner, GLR Scotty, in the top 10, with Robbo Sport right behind in 11th place, looking to make early moves on the round winner. That's Robbo Sport. Unfortunately picks himself up a half-second penalty, so he'll be wanting to serve that down the back straight before Parabolica. And then we've got Chops in 12th. Golden Alpine, the latecomer, the driver that did not make the grid and decided to hang around drinking beers and playing banjos at Watkins Glen, is on the grid now in 13th with Bruce Lightning and Ronnie Donks running up the top 15. But look back into the front. Walker's going to pull himself a good margin over Aussie Hypnotic as we hear the turbo whistles coming through the BMWs, and he's under pressure from Sir Dids in 5th place as we go on board with Sir Dids looking to make an outside move and going towards the outside of Parabolica. It can be done if you outbrake your competitor. You can hang it around the outside. You'll find more traction. But it looks like Slapper's mate's just got a little bit more confidence under the right foot. And he's just holding on there. So Slapper's mate 117 just holding off Sir Dids, but Sir Dids was going to look to come back as he takes the inside line. So Sir Dids coming through the Rettifilio corners, turns 1 and 2. As we see a move for the lead. No, not the lead. We see a move for 2nd place. That is Osto looking to make a move, and actually Sir Dids did not make the move on Slapper's mate 117, but we saw the move made between Osto, but it's not over yet. Aussie Hypnotic is coming back at Osto. The grunt of the Corvette is so much superior compared to the old McLaren 650S. Still not able to get the upgraded 720S from the McLaren factory. Oh, he just outbraked himself there. Contacts made between the WTCC driver and Osto. Osto came off fine, but Slapper's mate is dropping down the order as he's stuck in the gravel trap. As Slapper's tried to follow Aussie Hypnotic in the inside, there was no room whatsoever for Slapper's mate to go through there cleanly. And unfortunately, contact made between the Pro Drive and Pro Am, and that dropped Slapper's mate. The winner of Pro Class, but 2nd overall, is now down into 13th place with Roddy Dons overcoming and being in 14th. And Robbo Sport unfortunately had a half-a-second penalty there, so I want to be picked up another one because he's now 6.1 behind Roddy Dong. So a lot of work for Robbo to do. 22.6 covering the top 15. Seeing some moves here as we see Sir Did starting to make the moves now. So now he doesn't have Slapper's mate 117 to contend with, and he's making the moves on Osto 101. So Sir Did, so that we're going to have a swan podium with Walker in 1st and Sir Did's in 3rd, but Osto's coming back. Look how the field is actually quite bunched up from 2nd all the way down to GLR Scotty in 9th place. So it's a very close field. Osto later on the break, so Did's going to be brave and hang it around the outside. Max Verstappen style. Will he be given the space? Unlike what Lewis Hamilton did, he does, but he's lost traction. And Marty McFarty is coming through out of nowhere, so he's bringing that Scarborough Motorsport car up towards the front. The leader of the AMP drivers ahead of Squirrel, so comfortably, so a good margin ahead of him, between him and Squirrel. And Marty McFarty is going to think about making a move on Osto coming through De La Roggia. No, he'll hang back behind. It looks like there's a little bit of a bump there, but it may have just been a little bit of GT7 lag. But Osto's just ahead, and Sir Did looking to make early moves coming through Lesmo 1. He's made the move stick on Marty McFarty as we see him through the rear vision mirrors. He's back into 4 players, and he relegates Marty to 5th with Squirrel right behind. Lurking in the background, an Extreme, not the best start that Extreme's had. Only started in 6th place, but he's not making the charge that he has done compared to what he did at Watkins Glen. He's trying to find a move, trying to find a cap on the inside. It's not there unless he's later on the brakes. No, he's just backed off the throttle, just saving a little bit of fuel possibly. As McLarens are very thirsty, but you have to really rev the car out to get the maximum horsepower. So that'll be one to keep an eye on what the pace is like with McLaren. Now we've got GLR Scotty making a move on Kutch. Unfortunately, Kutch, I did see him pick himself a half-second penalty. He was hanging all right in 9th place. And unfortunately, that half-second penalty dropped him back and relegated him. But his teammate Chops, 1983, inside the top 10. So Kutch see BBR in the top 10. As we look from the chase cam, the rear vision of GLR Scotty looking down the pitch straight and coming through towards Rettifilia, turn 1 and 2. Getting a nice exit onto the curving. Really use that curving as much as you can, but try not to lose too much traction. And really plant the power down as quickly as you can. And through Curva Grande as we look up ahead. Looks like Extreme wants to make a move on Squirrel 18. Does he get that move? Is he the late breaker compared to Squirrel? Looks like he's got a car width ahead of him, a car's nose ahead of him. They're going side by side through Rettifilia to Della Roggia. Squirrel comes out on top and Extreme stays in 7th place, not able to make the move, but he's in a bit of a WTCC sandwich with Squirrel and GLR Scotty, the bread, and Extreme, the meat in the bread sandwich, as he gets all sideways and he's lost time and he's actually picked himself a half-second penalty there. So he took too much curving on the inside of Lesmo 2, and that's what got him the penalty. That half-second does feel like a long time, especially when you're going down the straight. As Scotty makes the move on Extreme, he does. Beautiful move there by GLR Scotty. The pressure from WTCC working well together to pressurize the Ned Racer in Extreme NZ to get himself a half-second penalty, with Kutch right behind, taking that position away from Extreme. As we look down the rear of the grid, we've got Golden Alpine in 11th place, Briz Lightning, the third and the last Swan driver, in 12th place, and then we have the recovering Slappers mate 117 coming through to try and take that slipstream of Briz Lightning. So the fourth driver in the amateur class versus the last place driver of pro class. I never thought I'd hear this, but Slappers mate 117, the last of the pro drivers, in 12th place overall and 5th in class. He's got a lot of work to do to try and catch up to the next driver, which is Kutch 426, who's occupying 4th in pro class, but still leading the way, and no one's able to touch him at all. He's increasing his gap 6.4 seconds between Walker and Aussie Hypnotic. But as I did notice, actually, Aussie Hypnotic has actually gone on to the medium tyres, so he's learning about his mistake that he made back at Watkins Glen, where unfortunately the Scarborough Motorsport could not save their tyres at all, and Aussie Hypnotic and Marty McFarty were really struggling, and Robo Sport as well, all struggling for tyre wear. But it looks like they're coming in with a better game plan, and Aussie Hypnotic is actually pulling away from Osto, who's on the soft tyres, and is really using those mediums to his advantage to try and pull away from the Ned Racer. The team owner, Osto, Joel Austin, in 3rd place with Sir Diggs occupying 4th, but pounding and pressuring the Ned driver. Squirrel 18 is now the lead amateur driver in 5th place overall, 1st in class. And Marty McFarty, unfortunately, looks to have made a mistake on the last lap, giving Squirrel the lead of amateur class. And GLR Scotty is now looking to make an inside move on Marty McFarty. So Marty is not having the best time on lap 5, so he's lost the lead of amateur class. And as we see Scotty, I thought he was into the barrier on the left-hand side there. We're going to see 3 wide going along the pit straight as we look for an exterior shot. Beautiful scenes here. We've got Marty McFarty, GLR Scotty and Kutch trying to make a 3 wide going through Rettifilia. Who's going to be the late breaker? Who's going to be the brave one? Looks to be Marty McFarty with GLR Scotty and Kutch 426. Beautiful driving by all 3 drivers, not making the situation worse and making a 3 wide through Rettifilia. GLR Scotty's now all under pressure from the Ferrari driver. So the lead Ferrari from Bingo Bango Racing. The Ferrari fans will be delighted to see Kutch 426 move up the grid as he looks for an inside move through Della Roggia. No, he doesn't. He's just going to have to hang back. Scott runs a little bit too deep there, a little bit uncomfortable on the car. But it looks like Scott has. We look for a yellow flag. That is Sir Dids. So what's happened? So something's happened to Sir Dids. It looks like he's jumped the chicane and he's got engine damage as well. Thankfully for our drivers this evening, the damage is on light, so he won't need to make a pit stop. He's just going to have to suffer for at least another 50 seconds with engine damage and front aero and suspension. But that's going to feel like a lifetime. He'll be kicking himself. So we saw the same mistake, a very similar mistake that we saw for St. Dids at Watkins. But he clipped the barriers going through the bus stop at Watkins. And unfortunately for him, he got himself engine damage there as well. So something happened with Sir Dids fighting it out with Osto. But I also noticed that as well, Osto is not up in third place as well. So where has Osto dropped back to? He's dropped back down to 15th place. So it looks like contact was actually made between Osto and Sir Dids. We don't know what the story, the background story is, but Osto, who was looking for a potential third place so far at the end of lap 6, has all the way relegated himself down to 15th and last place. So something major has happened. We'll make sure we follow that up at the end, before the end of the broadcast, of what happened between the two drivers. But what I'm hearing between both drivers, they're a little bit of, they're picking on each other. They are trying to blame each other, saying that Osto's at fault, and then Osto's trying to say Dids is at fault. My intercoms is blasting with the team radio, and it's not very colourful, and it's not language that I want to be broadcasting to you, ladies and gentlemen. It's a little bit non-PG, the language that is being said, as Robbo just runs the car a little bit too deep through Retifilio, so his tyres are just about to go away, and it's just not finding confidence in that car compared to what we saw at Watkins Glen. And Robbo Sport really struggling around Monza, not the best of qualifiers. We know Robbo's a good qualifier, but hanging around in 15th and last place, the last of the Pro-Am drivers, is not a really good sign to see Scarborough Motorsport down in 15th and last. Not what they were expecting at the end of the race, during lap 7 of 34, as he's just struggling to get the car around Retifilio to De La Roggia. Always keep getting those two names wrong. That's okay. So keep coming through, ladies and gentlemen. We want to see those comments. We want to see who you are predicting for the race winner of round 2 of the MotorMotion E-Series Track Racing GT3 Championship, here live at Monza, the Temple of Speed, where Walker 17, the Pro-Am driver, getting inspiration from his fellow Pro-Am driver in GLR Scotty, he's in the lead by 8.7 seconds, so he's really eking out that margin compared to Aussie Hypnotic. But as we said, Aussie Hypnotic is on the medium tyres in second place, and then we have Squirrel 18. So this is very interesting, ladies and gentlemen. We have the Pro-Am in first place, and then we have the Pro driver, and then we have an amateur driver, all in the top 3. What else can we expect this evening, ladies and gentlemen? We're on lap 8 of 34. We've got 3 classes on the podium for the overall podium. First in class, of course, but there'll be a clean sweep of the podium if that's the case. This is crazy, but Marty McFarty is right behind. He's about 1.3 behind, and we see Kutch having a much stronger performance in his Ferrari. But like I said, like I predicted earlier, that the Lotus tyres on the left-hand side are really killing that Ferrari's rear tyres, and we did see at Watkins Glen the Ferrari was not kind to the rear tyres whatsoever. But GLR Scotty, they're really trying to close up to Marty McFarty as we look back towards the rear vision. As Marty McFarty just dropping down a little bit of pace. Not able to defend from GLR Scotty. Looks like he's going to be making a pit stop very soon. Oh, he's just very tail happy there. And Kutch with the Ferrari 458 Italia versus Kane in the Extreme NZ in the McLaren 650. Yes, they're not going to go 3 wide, surely not through Parabolica. I don't think that's wise. Kutch, the late of the breakers, and he's actually able to keep that car ahead of Marty McFarty. So the pace that Ferrari's got in their cars is incredible. Is Kutch going to come into the pit lane? He does, so that's a crucial move there by Kutch. And he's actually saved more fuel compared to Marty, so this will really help Kutch in putting him in a great position at the end of the pit stops, as we see Oster on the recovery drive in 13th and last place with Robbo and Roddy Dogs. Unfortunately, a very poor lap there by Roddy in 15th and last place. So it's very interesting to see the top 3 occupying the top 3 and first in all 3 classes, occupying the top 3 at Monza. It's crazy scenes, ladies and gentlemen. We have not seen this before. This is a first. We did not see this at Watkins Glen. So it's very interesting to see how this all pans out as we're on halfway through lap 9 of 34. As we look towards to go back, we're going to look on board with Extreme. We'll wait to see if he starts to make a pit stop at the end of this lap. He's going to try and see if he can push for another lap, possibly, but I'm not so sure if he's liking those rear tyres. He's especially that left-hand side, the rear left, mid-engine, rear-wheel drive cars are really suffering from traction on the rears. He's on the back of GLR Scotty. Last time out's race winner, ahead of the third place man in Extreme. Right behind, as you can see, he's really tiptoeing through Ascari, and same with GLR Scotty. They're both tiptoeing. They know they have really bad tyres, so we'll have to wait and see who blinks, who goes into the pit lane first. Will they both go in, as we see Walker 17 enter the pit lane? So his Swan Racing team are ready to go. And look at his tyres, ladies and gentlemen. Those tyres are really cooking. The front and the rear. Squirrel 18 comes in as well, as we see the Swan boys getting themselves ready. Topping up the fuel tank as well. And like we called, Aussie Hypnotic on the medium tyres is now inherited the lead from Walker 17. As Chops as well, I believe, is on the medium tyres as well. Yes, he was also on the mediums as Walker exits the pit lane right now. Is he got clear air? He does. Looking at the rear vision, he's got a bit of clear air between him and the next car, which will be Squirrel 18. So a huge gap. Who's that coming down the back straight, or the pit straight? We've got Osto, so he's yet to make a pit stop. So you can definitely tell he's so far down the order. And look at that, here's Nemesis in Sir Did 72 right behind him. So the two that made contact on lap 7, or lap 6 rather, are now occupying 7th and 8th, and Sir Dids is a pit stop ahead of Osto 101, and he'll be kicking himself, whether it was the fault of the Ned driver or the Swan driver, we don't know yet. We will be waiting to hear what the stewards have to say at the end of the race, but he knows Extreme has made a pit stop, so he's going to try and play a bit of defensive. He's going to try and do some defensive driving on Sir Dids and really try and keep him at bay, so Extreme can really pull away. But he's not pulling away just yet, actually. I'm actually noticing that he's actually got a little bit more pace. So the cold tyres exiting the pit lane. Just remember, these cars don't have blankets like we do see in Formula 1. So the tyres that go on these cars are fresh and cold. And Osto really trying to get himself really close, and he's been showing a lot of pace, as we saw in qualifying, but unfortunately he's not able to put that into good use after big contact with Sir Did 72. Kutch right behind in the Ferrari, a much better showing from BBR in 9th place, and the recovering Slappers mate 117 now back inside the top 10, but looking to make the move on Kutch 426. Does he make the move? He doesn't, so he's just hanging around the back. But he hasn't lost too much time there, so we look at compared to what Slapper's lap time, or gap between him and Walker 17. He's about 21 seconds behind Walker 17, as Walker's just made a move on Chops 1983. Looks to have made the move stick before Ascari, I believe, between the two drivers. So Walker on the fresh soft tyres in 2nd place. Aussie Hypnotic on the mediums, pulling away. He's actually pulling some margin over Walker. The gap between the two was 12 seconds, and now Aussie Hypnotic is really using those tyres, really wants to get the life out of them, and really try and make the stint last just a little bit longer, maybe an extra lap or two. So that way he might be able to throw on some soft rubbers twice and make it to the end of the Grand Prix. We shall wait and see. The gaps are still remaining as a stalemate between the two drivers. Chops in 3rd, looking to stay out on those tyres a little bit longer, and Squirrel, the leader of the amateur class, in 4th place. 3.8 over GLR Scotty. Extreme in 6th place, as we did see Osto make his pit stop, and he's still in 12th place, as we actually now see Aussie Hypnotic make a pit. So this is very interesting. I thought he would have stayed out for at least one more lap and really gone for a conservative on the fuel strategy, but I know for a fact that Aussie is not a fuel man. Once he gets into a car, he wants to wring the neck out of the car, and he really wants to get that pure performance, especially in that Corvette C7. A really strong car back in Gran Turismo Sport, but on GT7 it's not the strongest car that we've seen on the track, whether it's through daily races or FIA manufacturers or nations racing. Unfortunately, that car is not as strong as what we saw in GT Sport. He's got himself a good clear margin over GLR Scotty, so good clean air and a very good pit stop by the Scarborough Motorsport team to give Aussie Monic the chance to keep that 4th place and give fresh air, as GLR Scotty and Extreme are really close, are in a close battle for 5th place. As let's ride on board with Kiwi from Ned Racing, going through Jella Rogers, turns 4 and 5, just passing Curve Grande. Oh, it looks to be a little bit later on the brakes. He's cut the corner a little bit. Will that trigger a penalty for Extreme NZ? Doesn't look like it, so he's just got away with that. So Extreme in 6th place behind GLR Scotty, really wringing the neck out of that McLaren. And unfortunately not able to make any inroads on that lap, as we see Sir Dids really closing up, and then we see Slapper's mate not make 1 move but 2 moves, and he's up into 8th place, so he's on the charge. 18 seconds behind Walker 17, setting personal bests on this sector here, so he's going to improve on his lap time. The winner of Pro Class at Watkins Glen is down in 8th place, as the leader of Pro, I believe, is Aussie Monic now. Then we have Extreme 2nd in class, Sir Dids 3rd in class. There we go. So we're going to have a battle very soon between Slappers and Sir Dids for 3rd overall in class. So Slappers wants to get himself back on the podium after he showed a really good performance, a really good strong drive at Watkins Glen, but unfortunately, as we detailed earlier in the broadcast, the right rear tyre just would not come off at all, and it was really budging to come off, and was very hesitant and he really didn't want to come off. I saw him, and you could just see the body language as Slapper's mate got out of the car. He was furious with his team. He was delighted to see his teammate GLR Scotty take the victory, but he knew deep down that he was the one to take victory. But unfortunately, that is racing, and racing can be a very cruel sport. Like we're seeing some insights there from the WTCC garage, as we see the crew chief and lead engineer Tony Griffin come through saying that in the WTCC pit, Scotty was actually reporting a misfire, an engine misfire, so that's why he's not able to get that car up as high as the previous. That's why he's struggling. So look, the misfire happening, and then we saw Slapper's mate 117 battling to get his steering alignment, with a bit of a bent steering arm at the front. And it looks like it's not really hurting him so far, as he's looking to make that move on Extreme. So he's got, there you go, he's got the pro drivers in Extreme and Sir Dids. He's going to make the move, set a purple lap there, so the fastest man on the track. Slapper's mate 117 really going to improve his positioning by taking 3rd overall ahead of Extreme. Can Extreme outbrake him? No, he doesn't. He does the smart thing and not take him out on the outside. Oh, contact made between Extreme and Slapper's mate, but Slappers gets the job done, and into 7th place goes Extreme goes Slapper's mate, and Extreme down back into 3rd place. So something happened between Extreme and GLR Scotty, so they were really close in battle. But looks like something happened with the Ned driver to lose out to not only Sir Dids but Slapper's mate 117. So we'll bring that back up through the coverage later on and see what happens. But unfortunately not the run that Ned Racing wanted. All hopes were high with Osto taking out 3rd place and Extreme in the top 6. But unfortunately, they're all the way down the order, with Extreme in 8th and Osto 101 recovering in 11th place. 22.7 behind Marnie McFadden, so he is a pit stop behind the man that is in the amateur class. Now Sir Dids with the pace for Swan Racing. So we see one Swan up the front, and then we see Sir Dids lead the 2nd driver from Swan Racing. We haven't seen much of their 3rd driver in Briz Lightning 55, so on the medium tyres, He's in a pack where he's not really trying to fight anyone. He's just basically all on his own, unfortunately. There's Briz Lightning and Osto. So Osto, Briz Lightning, Golden Alpine, Roddy Donks and Robert Ford all on their own. So you can see it on the track map. The car coming through Ascari, I believe, is Osto. Then it's very widely spread between Osto and Robbo Sport. So the drivers outside the top 10 are really going to be hating themselves after the events of what happened this evening, especially Osto 101, as we see Chops enter the pit lane and exiting the pit lane now, just coming out behind Marty McFarty in 10th place. So unfortunately for Roddy Donks not to see himself inside the top 10, he'll be very happy to see two of his cars inside the top 10 with Kuch in 8th place and Chops 1983 in 10th place. But Walker really extending that gap, 9.7. He's actually ahead of Squirrel, so Squirrel looks like he's made a move on Aussie Hypnotic. So actually, no, sorry, Squirrel actually got him with the undercut, and Aussie Hypnotic is now back into 3rd place compared to the tyre wear. Looks like he's saving a little bit. He's got a little bit more. He did pit at the end of lap 10. And Aussie Hypnotic has 2 laps younger. He's gone 0.3 up, so he's really on the charge. He really wants to make inroads on Walker. He knows he's dominated through qualifying. He took away pole position from Aussie Hypnotic, and now Aussie Hypnotic is on the charge. He looks like he's going to make a move on Squirrel anytime soon. That gap, he just really closed that gap through Ascari. So much confidence in the Scarborough Corvette. Much better performance by the Scarborough Motorsport team. Aussie Hypnotic behind Squirrel, looking to take out 2nd overall as he tries to make a move on Squirrel. Not setting the world alight on the fast lap, 1 minute 47.3. So matching Slapper's mate 117, but not able to topple off his mate. That is Slapper's mate. Let's sit back, right on board as we see Aussie Hypnotic go through Retzafilio turn 1 and 2. Let's sit back, watch and enjoy a lap around Monza in the hands of Aussie Hypnotic. Getting out of shape as we did see going through Ascari. Unfortunately for Squirrel, he ran a little bit too wide on the exit of Ascari there, and there you go. He's not able to make the move there. It looks like the BMW has a little bit more straight line speed compared to Aussie Hypnotic, so it looks like Aussie Hypnotic just went for a different route on strategy with the setup, and the BMW looks to be a little bit more of a slipperier car on the straights. Very interesting to see why he did not make the move on Squirrel. That was really, really interesting. But like we saw with Squirrel 18, he did go a little bit too hairy, a little bit too wide. Very eager on the throttle. He really wants to get that power down as quickly as he could. And as we saw, that car really drift wide, unfortunately. And he lost all that time, so he built himself a really good gap between him and Aussie. And it just came tumbling down through to Parabolicas. And something happened between Aussie and Squirrel. Maybe a little bit of contact was made trying to make a move on Squirrel. Maybe turned the car a little bit too late and just tapped the rear right of WTCC BMW. As we look down the field, we do see some moves happening between GLR Scotty and Slapper's mate 117. The drivers 1 and 2 last time out at Watkins Glen. So what will happen this time? We're on lap 17 of 34. Will GLR Scotty do the right thing? Will he play team orders with his team boss Slappers, mate? It doesn't look like they're showing any team orders so far. But looking amongst those two, again, what we're seeing here, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, as I say that, I was about to give praise, and Scotty unfortunately goes a little bit too wide and clips the curb, and that is the end of Scotty's charge to get himself another victory or a potential podium. And GLR Scotty just makes himself a huge mess on the exit of Ascari. Really got on those ripple strips, and with engine damage as Martin McFarty comes through and about to take 8th place away from GLR Scotty. So this is not what Scotty wanted. He was doing so well. I was about to give him praise that his tyres were much better than Slappers, mate. Especially the fronts. He's really saving those fronts, as we know Scotty to be a really good tyre saver, at least amongst the rest of the field there. And I was about to give him praise that he could have used those tyres a little bit more compared to what Slappers, mate, could have done. But man, that's got to suck for GLR Scotty. The last time out's race winner, or making a huge mistake at Ascari. Got a little bit too eager on the right pedal, and the car just went, see you later. A full dart to the wall, a sharp left dart to the wall with engine damage. So it's so unlucky for GLR Scotty, but we'll be looking to see him make his way through the field as we just over half of race distance, ladies and gentlemen. We run you through the field from 1st to 15th. We have Walker, 17, increasing his gap. It looks like he's going to make a pit stop this time round as he's low on fuel and low on tyres. Squirrel 18 is still under pressure from Aussie Hypnotic in 2nd place. Aussie in 3rd, really wanting to try and get that position back that he lost to Squirrel 18. And it looks like he's going to make the move coming through before Parabolica. Will he sit behind Squirrel 18? And we look to go behind him and get himself a really good run into turn 1 to Redophilia. He's not going to make the move just yet, as we now see Walker 17 in the pit lane. What will these drivers do? Will Squirrel go into the pit lane himself? I wonder if he's struggling with tyre wear. As we look to see on board, he does go in the pit lane. So there we go, Squirrel in the pit lane. Aussie Hypnotic staying out because he's got fresher tyres and more fuel in his car. He takes the lead of the GT3 Championship here at Monza. See some drivers Extreme staying out for another lap as well, so he looks like he's going to stay out for another couple of laps on his tyres and fuel. Walker 17 is just exiting the pit lane right now. Between him and Kutch, he's got himself a huge gap over Kutch, 426. So clean air for the Swan driver to really make the charge towards Aussie Hypnotic, but he doesn't know, he knows he doesn't need to push the car as much because he knows he's got a really good car under him. The Swan driver getting a really nice car, and it's very well presented the Swan Racing Mercedes AMG. It looks really beautiful. That yellow really shines. And Walker 17 in command. A pit stop ahead of Kutch 426. As he's on the mediums actually, so I did not see that. He's actually Marty McFarty in 5th place, not making a pit stop yet, with Squirrel 18 right behind. Already a pit stop ahead of Marty McFarty in 6th place. Chops making his pit stop earlier on lap 15, swapping from mediums to soft tyres. Sir Did 72 in 8th place. Slappers, mate, also making a pit stop in 9th. And Osto 101 in 10th place. So GLR Scotty on fresh rubber will be looking to make inroads on Osto. What could have been for Osto? Joel Austin, the leader of Net Racing. So sad to see him commentating him down in 10th place, where we saw him really high up as 3rd place before that huge accident occurred. Because now we see Extreme entering the pit lane, and Squirrel looking to make a move on his mate in Marty McFarty, the founders of MotorMotion E-Series, as Marty McFarty darts the pit lane, and Squirrel will take the lead of the amateur class. A full pit stop ahead of Marty McFarty, you could say. And well clear of Chops 1983, who is 2nd in class at the moment. So he looks like he was racing. It looked like he was racing Marty as well. So for 2nd in class, Chops 1983 and Sir Dids the next of the pro drivers in 6th place. So this is very interesting. Looks like Extreme almost had the overcut work between him and Slappers mate. And he's on 1 lap fresher tyres. As we see Osto, I thought he looked like he made a mistake there. As we see Extreme now really putting the pressure on Slappers mate 117. Getting a nice exit out of Della Roggia. And then through Lesmo 1 as we ride on board with the net driver. So much more grip. Slappers not really taking advantage of the fresh rubber, the 1 lap warm tyres, warmer tyres we could say, and Extreme on cold soft tyres. He's not able to really put pressure on Slappers mate 117. This is now just gapped him a little bit of touch of breathing air for Slappers mate to not be really pressured by the net driver. Looking through, Sir Dids has made a pit stop and Chomps 1983 has not. So we wait to see his pit stop come through very soon. As we see Kuch 426, he's going to be making a pit stop now as he is really running out of fuel there. So like I said, much better performance by Bingo Bango Racing as Kuch enters the pit lane. What potentially could be his final stop, would you think? He could maybe go for another set of medium tyres and put a full tank of fuel. Could he make 14 laps on mediums and a full tank of fuel? We'll wait and see as his pit crew gets underway. A nice smooth pit stop there for Kuch 426. As we wait for the fuel load to go through, how much does he put in the car? Does he go for that full tank? He does, and he's also on the medium tyres, so just like I called it. Keep an eye on Kuch 426. He may just go to the end on this set of compound. As he's right behind GLR Scotty, his fellow Pro-Am driver, in 10th place. As Marty looks on the fresher tyres, on the warmer tyres versus Kuch's medium tyres, he's got better traction ahead of the BBR driver. Kuch 426. On the outside, Marty on the inside. Who will hold through? It looks like it's going to be Marty McFarty. Kuch is going to try and outbrake himself and try and make the move around the outside. He doesn't. He holds on to 11th place and Marty moves up into 10th. So what we saw Marty not really in any battle pack is now starting to make his way through, charging through on a really good strategy call. He's only 1.5 behind Scotty. And Osto is just ahead, but he's on medium tyres and he's not able to make, and he's nowhere near contention to be inside the top 10, unfortunately for Osto, as he was early in the race. Chomps 1983 in 5th place behind Sir Dids, as Sir Dids made the move on Chomps 1983. As Aussie Hypnotic enters the pit lane. Oh, look at those tyres! How did he get that car through to the pit lane very quickly? So again, is this hampering Scarborough Motorsports' chance for victory? As you see, now he's on the medium tyres. So again, ladies and gentlemen, we are seeing this factor coming through with Scarborough Motorsport as we see ahead Slappers mate 117 making a move on Chops on much fresher rubber. But we're seeing here that the soft tyres is not liking the Corvettes at all. We saw back at Watkins the tyre wear on the softer tyres compared to the mediums was just incredible. Even the mediums were struggling to hold on. And the soft tyres here, yet again, they're just not holding on whatsoever. And Aussie Hypnotic has to go for a different strategy on tyres because the softs are not working. And we're not seeing much improvement as well from Marty McFarty. He's ahead of Kuch, as we saw earlier in the last coverage. But he's not making any inroads on GLR Scotty. So 2 Scarborough Motorsports inside the top 10. But again, are they being plagued by tyre wear issues? Just like with Bingo Bango Racing? I'm not too sure. Because I mean, you could also say the same could be said for Extreme, but he looks to be a little bit better on tyres compared to his teammates. And Chomps is really struggling indeed to keep that Ferrari on the track. So he wants to make a pit stop. I think he can probably go one more lap before that tank drains down to empty. And Aussie Hypnotic on the medium tyres in 7th place, 13.1 behind Walker. you look down the field, you look through to Golden Alpine, looks like he's going to be one of the drivers that could be lapped at the end of the race. We see Ronnie Donks has just been lapped. So there we go. So Ronnie Donks has just been lapped by Walker 17. So there's the first lap car of the evening. It only took us 23 laps to lap a driver. And unfortunately for Ronnie Donks, another yet again for the BBR, the racer, unfortunately being lapped by Walker 17 with Robbo Sport right behind us. We see some yellow flags. That's Golden Alpine making a mistake. And he looks like he hasn't got any damage. He looks like he just went a little bit too wide there on the gravel, as we can see the tyre marks. And for Mark Scarborough, Uncle Mark, in 13th place, now going to come all under pressure from Robbo Sport in 14th place. With Briz Lightning 55 in 12th, a good margin ahead of Golden Alpine. So maybe it looked like those two were quite close to each other. So I don't think any incidents occurred between those two. So I think Golden Alpine unfortunately made a mistake in the gravel trap. It is all the way down into 13th place as Robbo Sport is really closing in, as we keep an eye on that later on through the other TV monitor. But still, Walker, he's losing a bit of time, I must say. So what we saw, we're seeing a very interesting strategy. We saw with Squirrel 18, him and Aussie Hypnotic, they were about at least 12-13 seconds behind Walker at the last pit stop. These guys have to do one more pit stop. And I have a feeling that Aussie Hypnotic does not. If he's saving fuel, and if he can save tyres, can he get to the end with only 11 laps to go? He's 16.7 behind Walker, 5.5 behind Extreme, as Extreme is really getting close to the back of Sir Dids and the Slappers, mate. As Slappers did make a move on Sir Dids, and he'll want to pull away from the Swan driver in 4th place, and Slappers making WTCC 2nd and 3rd on the track. And again, the same thing again. We've got the 3 classes occupying the top 3 spots, with Squirrel 18 in 2nd, Slappers in 3rd, Sir Dids in 4th, trying to hound back and get back onto the rear end of the BMW driver, and Extreme in 5th. Aussie Hypnotic in 6th place. GLR Scotty 14.7 behind, and after a costly mistake on lap 19. Exiting out of Scari, and unfortunately with him darting the nose towards, instead of darting the nose straight, it darted towards the left-hand side of the exit of the Scari, and for him that was really bad timing. Osto in 8th place, still on those medium tyres. Looks like he's going to make a pit stop at the end of this lap as his fuel gauges drop down to the red. Marty McFarty in 9th place, and Kutch in 10th place. So Marty using those soft tyres to advantage. And he'll go on board with Marty, gives Osto a bit of a tap, tries to go around the outside. Will Osto give him the room on the outside? No, as he switches to the inside. Osto not giving any quarters for Marty McFarty to make a move just yet. Marty McFarty really struggling with those tyres. We can see on the rear vision mirror as well. With Kutch 427, he's also struggling with those medium tyres, not able to get those up to temperature just yet. So we'll wait and see Osto peel to the right and make his final pit stop with only 10 laps to go. What tyres will he choose? I don't think he'll go soft tyres because they won't last a very long time. As he darts into the pit lane right now, we'll wait and see what Osto puts on his car. With Aussie Hypnotic in 6.6 behind Sir Dids, and Sir Dids actually lost a place to Extreme. So Sir Dids going backwards in this stint on his soft tyres. He's not able to make inroads on Slappers. He lost the lead, he lost the place to Slappers, and he lost the place to Extreme. And now Extreme's picked himself a half-second penalty for cutting that De La Roggia chicane. Not what he wanted. He was so confident getting that car up. He's really going to be putting pressure on Slappers, mate. But unfortunately, with that half-second penalty and burn zone coming up on the exit of Ascari before Parabolica, it's just very unlucky for Extreme. He wants to try and get that penalty burn as quickly as he can to hopefully hold on to 4th place, which I highly doubt. with Sir Dids' pace, he might be able to take back 4th place, and Extreme will try and tuck back into the sim stream as quickly as he can. And watch the car dart to the right, he does, and now Sir Dids to the left as we go for the exterior shot. There we go, makes the move on Extreme, but Extreme hasn't lost too much time, and he'll be right on the rear wing while Sir Dids 72. A much tighter entry through Parabolica as Sir Dids runs the car very wide, much better traction for Extreme, and he'll want to make that move before Retzavillio for the position for 4th place and 2nd in class, I must add. So the pro drivers are really struggling to start winning races, with Walker in 1st in Pro-Am, Squirrel the amateur driver in 2nd, and Slappers the lead pro driver. So potentially these the 3rd, 4th and 5th are all battling it out for 1st place. Slappers mate has now made his way back up into 3rd after what was a costly mistake, trying to make a move with Extreme coming up to this corner right here through De La Roggia. Try to go around on the inside, try and take the outside line, and unfortunately there was no room given between Slappers and Extreme, and Slappers was facing himself in the gravel. But a very nice recovery drive by Slappers to really put his head down, get the car working, and really try and push himself up towards the top pack. And he's now occupying the podium position as we see Sir Dids, and again he's also losing time again, so something's happening to Sir Dids. Are we hearing something? I feel like I'm hearing a lot of communication coming from Swan Drive. He's not really happy. I have a feeling his car is running on 7 cylinders as we look to go for an exterior shot for the outboard. Yeah, you can hear it. It's really much of a tractor, ladies and gentlemen. So Sir Dids, I have a feeling he's down on power. Sir Dids 72, car 81 is down on power. So we see the yellow flags. Who's that for? None of the lead drivers, unfortunately. Looked like it was a rear back marker, which I believe was Roddy Dong's. But hearing the exterior shot, hearing the outboard, Sir Dids is down on power. From what I can hear, it sounds like a tractor. It sounds like he's lost a cylinder in his Mercedes, and that's why he's losing speed to Slappers and Extreme. So here we go, the last pit stops for Walker 17. He's putting in some fuel in the car. Really wants to try and get as much as he can. He's put in 71 litres and soft tyres to finish off the stint. Roddy Donks passes Walker. But he'll look to give that position back pretty soon. And Squirrel 18 has taken away 2 seconds away from Walker. So Squirrel, don't take your eyes off Squirrel, the amateur driver. He's seen that GLR Scotty can take a win for Pro-Am. But can Squirrel take a victory for amateur? Really? No way. I don't think that could that be possible? Please let me know in the comments. What do you think? What are you thinking, ladies and gentlemen? Can Squirrel 18 make a shock? Can he shock everybody and get himself up towards Walker, the rear end of Walker 17 Swan Mercedes? And can he get himself up potentially for a win? Surely not. As we see, Aussie Hypnotic still in the lead on those medium tyres. Like I said, Aussie is on medium tyres. Extreme with damage on his car. Looks like he's made contact somewhere. That's cleared away now. But Extreme on worn soft tyres. He's going to make his pit stop for the final time. But that puts Aussie Hypnotic in the lead, the pro driver in the lead of the Italian Grand Prix for the GT3 Championship, sponsored by Track Racer, presented to you by MotorMotion E-Series. 3 categories, Pro-Am and amateur drivers, all 15 on the grid this evening, with Golden Alpine making a return for Ned Racing. As we see Extreme making his final pit stop, and he'll lose that place to Walker 17 as he inherits 2nd place, and Extreme will have to change the tyres and put on some fuel. As Slappers Mate comes through, the undercut is working very nicely for Slappers Mate, so he's really pulled out that gap between him and Extreme. And Extreme, could he lose the position to Kuch, who's on the medium tyres as well? So this is also very interesting as well. So now we see Extreme exiting the pit lane in 6th place. Can he hold the place to Sir Dids? Did they fix that car up in the pit lane? I did not see. But Sir Dids really struggling with power in his Mercedes AMG. Car 81 looks like it's down on power. It's down on. It looks like he's down to a V7 instead of a V8. What I'm hearing, it looks like it's just recovered itself. So a little bit of some technical difficulties, technical mishaps in Swan Racing. Thought he lost power. Really sounded really poorly. Car 81. And now it's starting to sound a little bit better. So I think Sir Dids might just be able to have that car back into where it is, but we're not too sure. We'll have to get some more information from the technical chief at Swan Racing. But what we do know is Swan Racing's Walker 17 is 7.6 behind Aussie Hypnotic, and Aussie is still on those medium tyres. He doesn't look like he's going to make a pit stop. So it's all up to Walker, and Squirrel is closing. He's dropped that gap down to 1.3. It was 2 seconds at the start of the lap. He's now taken off at least 7 tenths, now 8 tenths, very close to 8 tenths. Squirrel 18 in third place, trying to make the move on Walker 17. If Aussie Hypnotic doesn't pit, it could be very close to finish between those three drivers. But if he does, this could be the battle for the lead, ladies and gentlemen. Walker 17 for Swan Racing versus Squirrel, the amateur driver from WTCC. Can he get WTCC a second win in a row after a dominant performance at Watkins Glen? Beautiful exit by Walker through Retifilio. Unfortunately for Squirrel, got a little bit too heavy, a little bit too slowly on the exit of Retifilio and losing time to Walker. We'll keep an eye on what's going on with the coverage there. We'll keep an eye on Sir Dids as well, see if their engine's been fixed up. From what I'm hearing through the other intercoms, I have got message that the engine has been fixed in that last pit stop. So it's good. So Dids, I do apologise, Sir Dids is now back to full power, and Sir Dids is really getting that car back up to scratch. He's really trying to catch up and close to Kuch 426, which he has done. He's actually pulled away from Extreme and really on the rear end of Kuch 426. So like I said, a much better running by Bingo Bango Racing for car 426. Kuch 426 putting on a stellar performance for Bingo Bango inside the top 5. But Sir Dids with full power now, really going to be hounding the rear end of the Ferrari driver. So the Tifosi fans will be much happier with Bingo Bango Racing's performance this time round, as much better preparation has come through the team, a bit of better attitude amongst the drivers compared to last time out, where they occupied the last 3 positions. And Sir Dids is really on the rear tail of the Ferrari driver as we go for the outboard. Sir Dids has made that move comfortably and he's up into 5th place. Looks like he's got a jet engine in that car now. So last time out before the pit lane, he was suffering with speed and power. But in the words of Jeremy Clarkson, he's got speed and power back and he's pulling away, really getting the head down, and he wants to try and see how close he can get to Slappers, mate. He's 11.7. See if he can reduce the gap. I don't think it'll be enough. But for third in Pro Class, he'll be ecstatic with that performance as we look to go towards the battle pack between Walker and Squirrel. The gap has opened up, unfortunately, so Squirrel's losing time to Walker 17, and Walker's starting to close up on Aussie Hypnotic. So 6.3, 6.1, 5.8, 5.7. So through De La Roggia, Aussie Hypnotic has lost about 0.6 of a second to Walker in just a chicane. So Aussie struggling a little bit of tyres with 5 laps to go, with about 4.5 laps to go. Aussie Hypnotic still in first place, Walker in second, Squirrel in third. So the top 3 in class are occupying the top 3 on the podium. Slappers mate 117 in 4th place with a half-second penalty, so he's out. He's not going to be able to fight any contentions unless somebody ahead makes a huge mistake. So Slappers mate, unfortunately, with that half-second penalty, will lose a bit of time to Sir Dids in 5th place. Kuch holding on a very strong position in 6th place, but under pressure from Extreme on those soft tyres. So Extreme really trying to hound his fellow mid-engine rear-wheel drive car. McLaren versus Ferrari, where have we seen this before? As Kuch runs it out a little bit wide, a little bit of a snap oversteer for Kuch. We did just catch that in the background there, and he had a massive moment through Ascari. How he saved that, I don't know. Those rear tyres are really hounding out. They're really screaming at Kutch. He's only got about 4 laps to go. He needs to make those rear tyres work because now he's getting pressure from not only his teammate, but also GLR Scotty on soft tyres. So GLR Scotty with the better of the tyre advantages compared to the Bingo Bango Racing Ferraris. For WTCC, Scotty will not only look to try and take out 8th place, but he will try and get 7th away from Kutch. We'll keep an eye on that with 4 laps to go. But still, the gap is coming down. Aussie Hypnotic still in 1st place. Walker 17 in 2nd. Squirrel holding out on 3rd. As we have a run down through the field quickly, just to see where the battle packs, if there are any more battling going on. We can see Sir Dids is really closing that gap now. Sir Dids, the Slappers mate 117 with so much more power in his Mercedes in 5th, but Extreme is really trying to charge. He's putting his head down. He wants to try and get that top 5. He wants to take out the podium. He wants to be on the podium yet again. Was 2nd last time out of Walker's gun. He wants to try and get himself 3rd, but 2.9 seconds, 2.8 between him and Sir Dids might be a little bit too much with only 3.5 laps to go. Kutch 4.26 right behind in 7th, and Chops being pressured by fellow Pro-Am driver GLR Scotty. So GLR Scotty with fresher rubber, with softer rubber, I must add, behind Chops 1983, and he'll make that move pretty soon, at least before Parabolica. Will we see it through a scurry? Will he go for the late dive on Chops 83? No, he will stay behind. So he's going to wait patiently. We know Scotty can be very patient with the throttle and patient with making his move. And look at that, he's very patient and he's making the move on the inside. Down the inside he goes. GLR Scotty into 8th place. Next car in sight, Kutch 4.26. Struggling on those rear tyres is Kutch. So GLR Scotty with the fresh rubber and the confidence now. Passes one Ferrari, on to the next one, he says. Let's hunt him down, fellas. He's telling his team in WTCC. Rounding up the top 10 is Marty McFarty for Scarborough Motorsport. Struggling on tyres, but so far working really well for Aussie Hypnotic. He's going to be cheering on his teammate and Aussie to really keep that Swan driver behind. He doesn't know what the gap is between those two, but he knows. He's talking to his team. He wants to know it. He wants to know that they really should focus there, put all their focus on Aussie Hypnotic towards the end rather than Marty. Osto 101, unfortunate for him to be down the order where we saw him up in 3rd place at the beginning of the race. He's in 11th place. Briz Lightning, we haven't heard much from him. Struggling on medium tyres. The front mediums are the front tyre where he is going. And Robbo Sport is right behind on soft tyres, fresh soft tyres, I must add. And he'll look to take out 12th place. With Roddy Dongs in 14th, a lap down. And unfortunately, we're seeing with Robbo Sport, it's almost about to get a lap down from Aussie Hypnotic, but Roddy Dongs and Golden Alpine 14th and 15th, a lap down as we see Golden Alpine make a bit of a spin, bit of a pirouette spin through Retifilio, and now just gets reset onto the grass, back onto the track before Retifilio. So that's a bit of a shocking debut for Golden Alpine. One to forget for the man that was missing at Watkins Glen in 15th and last place. But let's now keep our eyes with only 2 laps to go. Aussie Hypnotic in 1st, Walker in 2nd. So close to what we're seeing here, ladies and gentlemen. Can we see Aussie Hypnotic just hold on to his tyres? Can he hold off Walker 17? This is going to be another grandstand finish, ladies and gentlemen, just like we saw last time out at Watkins Glen with 2 laps to go. Aussie Hypnotic still ahead of Walker 17. He's only got 2 more laps to go. It's very crucial to move himself up towards the grid. He finished 4th last time out at Watkins Glen. Walker, last time out, he finished himself in 7th place. So this will help him get himself points back on GLR Scotty, who is down in 7th place. But Walker's got himself a half second. So Walker with a half second penalty, that's going to cost him. So that could cost him a little bit on going on to the last lap. And that's not going to help his chances at all. What about we go down through the grid? Sir Dids on the charge. He's really trying to push his car and really make it work and try and reduce the gap to Slappers mate 117. Extreme's following him as well. They're both even on pace. So Extreme and Sir Dids working together to try and close up the Slappers before the last lap. So Slappers can make one mistake and he's got Sir Dids and Extreme right behind. We can't really look anywhere else as we see GLR Scotty now makes that move on both Bingo Bango Racing's Kutch and Chops 1983. I wonder if they might go for a swap with Chops on the fresh rubber compared to Kutch on worn medium tyres. But we go back to the front. It is the last lap of the Grand Prix. We've got Aussie Hypnotic in first place. Really low on fuel for the final lap for the last 5.793 kilometre circuit. That is Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, north of Milan, in the beautiful racing country in Italy. We're going to be treated to a grandstand finish once again. Aussie Hypnotic in first place, Walker 17 in second with soft tyres, worn soft tyres I must add, and now he's dipped into the red. The gap is dropping down. It's 1.1 between Aussie and Walker. So Walker's really closing in the gap. The fuel, looks like we can see Walker saved a little bit more fuel compared to Walker to Aussie Hypnotic. I do apologise. So coming through De La Rosier for the last time. Aussie Hypnotic still holding out first, but he's losing time. He's lost half a second through De La Rosier. Coming through Lesmo 1. Execute that. There's no way for taking a move there. That can be done. That's done. That's ticked off the box. Now come through Lesmo 2. That's done and that's ticked off the box. You can't make a move there. And he's got that gap out really nicely. It's 0.4 of a second between Aussie and Walker. Fuel's going to be very tight, ladies and gentlemen. He's really trying to save the fuel, weaving the car to try and get rid of that slipstream from Walker. The man that dominated pole position, Walker 17, is round behind Aussie Hypnotic, the last time pole position man. And coming through to the back straight, a beautiful exit by Walker 17. So we're going to be treated to a grandstand finish. Aussie's going to hug the inside. Walker's going to have to go the long way and go around the outside. It's a battle between Scarborough Motorsport and Swan Racing. Who's going to be the late breaker? It looks like it's going to be Walker, but Walker's gone a little bit too deep. Can he hold the outside? He does. He's just hold on. And Aussie Hypnotic is going to try and tuck back into the slipstream, but he hasn't done it. What a beautiful move there by Walker 17 to take the victory on the last lap, on the last corner through Parabolica. Wow, what a move that was from Walker 17, getting the job done by 0.084 over Aussie Hypnotic. Could not save any more of those tyres. Really tried to outbrake Walker. And unfortunately, another grandstand finish for us this evening. And Aussie Hypnotic finishes in second place. Squirrel 18, take a bow, son, for the lead amateur driver in third place. Again, ahead of Slapper's mate 117. So Slapper's behind his drivers yet again. What is going on behind the helmet of Slapper's mate 117 that he can't get himself, can't be the lead driver of WTCC? As we look down, we see Sir Dids. He looks like he made a mistake on that last lap. He was closing on Slappers, but only just held off Extreme on the final lap there. As you saw there, Extreme set a personal best, and Sir Dids losing 3 seconds on that lap. GLR Scotty wraps up a WTCC top 7 with Kutch and Chops. A beautiful performance there by Bingo Bango Racing. A much improved performance by Bingo Bango Racing in 8th and 9th place, with Marty McFarty in the 10. So he was cheering on Aussie Hypnotic, and now the cruise chief has just told him the bad news that Aussie Hypnotic has not won the Grand Prix. He got overtaken on the last corner. And very so unfortunate for Osto. What could have been for Osto a potential top 5 for the Ned driver. Unfortunate for him to be down the order, with Robbo Sport, Briz Lightning, Roddy Dongs and Golden Alpine rounding up your 15 this evening. But what a move that was by Walker 17, ladies and gentlemen. I'm still shaking after that. What a move, what a race. Walker on the last lap, on the last corner, Parabolica. So much more confidence on the brakes, and he really took that to his advantage and made that move stick on Aussie Hypnotic. Aussie Hypnotic played a very smart game there. He knew he didn't have the pace on the soft tyres, as those tyres were really bad on the Corvette, but he decided to make those mediums last, and he was one corner away from taking victory. One corner is all it takes, ladies and gentlemen, to take victory in the MotorMotion GT3 Championship, sponsored by Track Racer. All it takes is one corner. You don't have to lead a race. You have to take that last corner and you win, and you get the podium and you get the victory. So unlucky for Aussie Hypnotic, but beautiful drive by Walker 17. Dominated qualifying, dominated the race, and he had to do it the hard way to take victory this evening. So beautifully done by Walker. Another Pro-Am driver taking victory. So that's 2 for the Pro-Ams, none for the Pro drivers. How interesting indeed. So we'll have to dissect all of that as we get ourselves ready for round 3 in 2 weeks' time at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. So we travel north to Belgium, to the Ardennes Forest, for the Grand Prix that will be the Belgian Grand Prix at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Congratulations to our podium getters, first in both classes, all on the podium. Walker 17 for Pro-Am, Aussie Hypnotic for Pro, and Squirrel 18 for Amateur, occupying the top 3 overall. On behalf of myself and the 15 drivers and the 5 teams representing MotorMotion's E-Series Track Racer GT3 Championship, we thank you so much for tuning in. Please, if you have not, like and subscribe to the MotorMotion E-Series YouTube channels. Hit the bell notification so you can keep yourself all up to date with what's going on with MotorMotion E-Series. Follow their Facebook page, join the group, join the chat in MotorMotion E-Series paddock. Join us, as you will have a great time and you'll get along with these guys very well. I know I have got along very well with these guys, and they are awesome people to hang out with. So join us for what will be an awesome battle at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Can a Pro driver finally win at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps? We'll have to wait and see. But on behalf of myself, Nick Pautasso, as your commentator, thank you so much for joining me this evening, and we'll see you guys in 2 weeks' time.